Red Bull has returned focus to Las Vegas, with final preparations being made and fewer than 100 days left until F1's 5 red lights go out. Mexican Sergio Perez was on hand to try his luck as he sped through the luxurious Wynn Las Vegas casino, though didn't stop at any of the tables. Before heading out onto the world-famous Strip, where the drivers will go wheel-to-wheel in November, with the race held on a Saturday night for prime-time viewing. Checo then sped off into the nearby Nevada desert for a quick duel with 6-time off-road champion and Las Vegas native Bryce Menzies, who used his trophy truck to jump the F1 car. The energy drinks brand then headed for the airport, but left its F1 car on the roof of the Caesars Palace Casino, in a move similar to the mattress scene from the Hangover film franchise. The Las Vegas Grand Prix will be held on November 18. Staying with Red Bull, whose reserve pilot Liam Lawson has dented his Super Formula title ambitions after he caused a multi-car crash at Motegi on Sunday. The 21-year-old started third on the grid and got a good start to go wheel-to-wheel with the pole-sitter, Mugen teammate Tomoki Nojiri, into turn 1, but had a huge tank slapper on exit that forced him back on track and into the pack, which caused carnage and brought out the red flag. Nojiri went on to win the race, his second for the season, while Lawson was able to restart and finished 13th. The New Zealander is 8 points behind standings leader Ritomo Miyata with 2 rounds remaining. Ousted AlphaTauri driver Nyck de Vries could be back in the F1 paddock as early as October, with the Dutchman a potential candidate to become Red Bull reserve driver in Mexico. De Vries was dropped by AlphaTauri following the British Grand Prix, with Red Bull blaming a lack of pace. But the brand may need to re-engage his services for Mexico, with regular reserve Liam Lawson set to be racing at Suzuka in the Super Formula Twin final rounds. The deal could yet be scuppered should De Vries sign with another team, despite still being under contract with Red Bull, and interest in him from both Formula E and the World Endurance Championship. Promoters of the Dutch Grand Prix have sent up the sport's recent run of smashed silverware with a funny post on social media stating, "Let's break records, not trophies." Lando Norris destroyed Max Verstappen's winning trophy in Hungary with his signature champagne bump, while Red Bull broke its own Constructors' Prize in Belgium following its team photo. Verstappen is set to receive a replacement of his Budapest trophy worth $45,000 imminently via a streamlined manufacturing process. Iconic Italian F1 circuit Imola is hoping for an additional year to be added to its current contract given its cancelled event this season. Imola initially returned to the calendar in 2020 as a result of the pandemic and is set to host the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix until 2025, but wants F1 to extend its deal through to 2026 after severe floods in the region forced this year's race to be abandoned. And Imola president Giancarlo Minardi says an extra Grand Prix would bring great benefits to the still embattled region. We would very much like to organize the GP also in 2026. That way we would be able to give something back to the region because it keeps a lot of money from an F1 race, he said. Williams driver Alex Albon has revealed he's been working on the British squad's 2024 car in the simulator since April. Williams has been stronger this season, 7th in the standings after 12 rounds, equal on 11 points with Haas, a jump up from 10th and last, and 3 points at the same juncture in 2022. But Albon says a more long-term focus will get it ahead of its rivals, with the ambitious outfit starting early on its 2024 Challenger. I started working on next year's car in April on the simulator and making sure we are changing the car characteristics to try and mitigate some of these constant balance issues we've been having for the last 4 or 5 years, he said. Williams continues to build strength and depth, having signed Pat Fry from Alpine as its new chief technical officer, though the veteran will arrive on November 1 ahead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Two-time F1 world champion Fernando Alonso has hailed his switch to Aston Martin this year as the best of his career, though admitted he doesn't regret his past choices. The Spaniard's gamble on green for this season seemed a gigantic risk given the relative positions of Alpine and Aston Martin in 2022, but it paid off with 6 podiums from the first 8 races. Alonso has been criticized for being in the wrong team at the wrong time throughout his F1 career, moves that many say have cost him additional wins and crowns. But the Spaniard says no one has a crystal ball to predict who will be competitive in the following season, and that he indeed fought for titles at McLaren in 2007 and with Ferrari from 2010. And while Alonso said his second Woking stint from 2015 didn't work out, an even riskier switch to Aston Martin did. It was the best one, arguably, of my career, so that just shows the difficulty of choosing teams and lack of knowledge that everyone has at home, he said. Now retired 4-time F1 world champion Sebastian Vettel has admitted he drove himself to all European races last year, with the exception of the British and Hungarian Grand Prix. Vettel, who spent his final 2 F1 seasons in green with Aston Martin, is passionate about environmental responsibility and says he began taking steps to reduce his carbon footprint a few years ago. After seeing the figure that he calculated, especially in comparison to the average consumer, knocked his socks off. The German said the step back felt good and that he had more control. I don't want to dictate to anyone or make myself out to be an angel, but that's how I started with myself, he said. 1996 F1 world champion Damon Hill says gardening leave in contracts should be abandoned, with the practice not within the spirit of the sport. Teams currently use gardening leave, a period of time when a former employee can't work for a rival, to protect IP. But Hill, in a chat with the sports official podcast F1 Nation, says it should be outlawed, as it creates inertia that bakes in advantages.
I think people should be able to go, okay, I'm leaving and I'm going to start immediately at another team. I think that that would sharpen things up a bit and probably bring teams a bit closer. I just think that the whole business of a team being able to stop someone using their skills and immediately somewhere else has meant that it's harder for other teams to get up. I think that fluidity is what is going to bring teams closer together and make it much harder for teams to get away.
Felipe Massa has commenced legal action against both F1 and the FIA for an alleged conspiracy that denied him the 2008 driver's crown, with the Brazilian seeking substantial damages. Massa lost the 2008 title in his native Brazil by a single point to Sir Lewis Hamilton, but his campaign was damaged in Singapore, where Renault conspired to win the race. But while the Crashgate saga broke in 2009, Massa and his lawyers claim individuals at both F1 and the FIA were aware of what happened in 2008, when results could have been overturned. Massa estimates his losses are likely to exceed tens of millions of euros, not including serious moral and reputational damage. Simply put, Mr. Massa is the rightful 2008 Drivers' Champion, and F1 and FIA deliberately ignored the misconduct that cheated him out of that title, said the letter before claim by Ennio Law. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.